You know how some stories just grip an entire nation and then over time they kind of fade away? Well, today we're going back to one of those moments, a dramatic rescue that had millions on the edge of their seats, and we're going to find out what happened after the headlines disappeared. Let's get into the incredible story of the Borewell boy. 20 years ago, a little boy named Prince became famous for the most terrifying reason you can imagine. He became known everywhere as the Borewell boy. So today, we're going to unpack the story of his survival and, maybe more importantly, explore the man he's become all these years later. All right, so let's fast forward to today. Who is Prince now? 2 decades after that accident basically defined his childhood, he's a young man who is completely focused on one thing, building his own future. He's already gone and finished a program at the Industrial Training Institute. That's a type of vocational school. And now he's on the hunt for a steady job. Despite the unbelievable trauma he went through, he's hopeful. He's determined to build a life for himself. His story is really one of true resilience. But to really understand the man he is now, we have to go back. We have to understand how a totally normal day of just playing around turned into a life-threatening nightmare that had the entire nation watching. So, let's rewind the clock 20 years. Picture this. It's just a completely ordinary day for a young prince and his friend. They're playing near a well in their village in Haryana, just like any other kids would. And the chain of events that led to disaster was just so simple, so innocent. He and his friend Angrez were chasing a small rat. The rat scurried towards a Borewell that was just carelessly covered by a sack. The boys jumped on it, and in a split second, the sack ripped. And just like that, Prince was gone. He fell 60 feet. 60. I mean, to put that into perspective, that's like falling off the roof of a 6-story building, but into a dark, narrow shaft. It's almost impossible to imagine the terror a little kid would feel in that moment. And what followed was just this harrowing ordeal. Trapped deep, deep underground, a massive race against time began. For Prince, though, it was an eternity of just darkness and waiting. Even from way down in that well, Prince has these fragments of memory. He actually recalls hearing his parents' voices from far above, desperately trying to give him hope, telling him over and over again that he was going to be saved. The situation was so delicate. One of the first attempts to rescue him involved lowering a rope with a light bulb to give him some light and maybe a way to climb. But in that confined space, the bulb got way too hot, and it actually burned his hands, forcing him to let go. Just a devastating setback. This whole ordeal lasted for 50 agonizing hours. That's more than 2 full days. Trapped, alone, in the dark, 60 feet beneath the surface, just waiting for a rescue that nobody was sure was even possible. But up on the surface, a massive operation was kicking into gear. This wasn't just a local effort anymore. It became a mission that drew in experts from the absolute highest levels. And it all started with his friend, Angrez, who immediately ran for help. The local authorities were the first to respond, but they pretty quickly realized the complexity of this was beyond them, so the army was called in. And this thing quickly blew up into a coordinated, national effort to save one little boy's life. The army came up with this really ingenious strategy. Instead of risking pulling him straight up, they started digging a brand new shaft right next to the Borewell. Once they got down to the same depth, they carefully burrowed a horizontal tunnel to connect the two. This is how they finally reached Prince and were able to safely bring him out. It was a remarkable feat of engineering, all under just immense pressure. Surviving that fall was one incredible victory, but building a life in the years that came after, well, that presented a whole new set of challenges and dreams. Inspired by the very people who saved his life, Prince had a dream. He wanted to join the army. He worked so hard, he built up his physique, he dedicated himself to that one goal. But in the end, he just didn't meet the strict height requirement, and that door closed for him. And yet, this is the core of his story. Despite that huge disappointment on top of the unimaginable trauma of his childhood, he stays optimistic. He finished his training, and now he is laser-focused on finding a good job and standing on his own 2 feet. His spirit is absolutely unbroken. Ultimately, Prince's story isn't really just about a dramatic rescue. It's about the quiet strength that's required to build a life long after the cameras have gone away. And it leaves us with a pretty powerful question, doesn't it? How does a single moment of survival shape an entire lifetime of resilience?